The greatest opportunity lies in that you will work on establishing a connection straight with God and communicate directly with the Spirit of all life for guidance and wisdom on the path to awakening. It has been said that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So what if there's no teacher to teach me anything on the path of awakening? Can you point me in the right direction? Thank you. Well, you face the greatest obstacle and greatest opportunity, I would say. The obstacle lies in whether how disciplined you are. The greatest opportunity lies in that you will work on establishing a connection straight with God and communicate directly with the Spirit of all life for guidance and wisdom on the path to awakening. The teacher doesn't always have to be a person. One can also study scriptures and other ancient spiritual texts that call out to them, that you feel resonates with you, and then you study the ancient text and apply what you learn. Now this is very important, you see, because if you wait for a teacher, you may be waiting forever and ever. Maybe you don't know anybody that studies the mind, that studies consciousness or the spiritual nature of their own existence. But again, if you are ready, the teacher will appear, and a teacher can come in many forms. It doesn't have to be straightforward like how it would be when you were sitting in a classroom and the teacher would be standing right in front of you with a whiteboard perhaps, explaining you the concepts of life, of how you could achieve unity with God, to understand the nature of your own essence, of your own life. You could say the nature of your soul. You don't need a teacher to learn about this necessarily, because once you are ready to learn, God will overflow you with knowledge and wisdom as long as you keep your mind open to this process. So by wondering too much, where's the teacher gonna come from? You may be closing the door through which God could communicate to you individually. It happens inside of yourself. Through your intuitive mind, you could say, these hunches come, these insights as you contemplate, as you sit in peace and meditate upon the truth about life. Well, then you will get the answers you seek, as long as you stay simply aware of the fact that you are already one with God, so all the answers you need come from within. But the way we think about this process sets up roadblocks for ourselves if we don't watch out, delaying the process. Now, I once woke up from sleep, and I will keep reading scriptures for myself about the mind, about life, about consciousness. And in one of them, in the Bhagavad Gita, they say that you have the right to do your work, whatever that work entails. It's your right and privilege to act on it, but you have no right to any result it brings. Meaning, they are saying, the person who is obsessed with the results they get from their actions live in constant anxiety over whether things are good or bad. So it made me think, what makes someone a success or failure on this path on awakening? Well, it seems to me that one is a success or failure depending on how much they know their soul, which came from God. So the fact that you're already looking to find answers, even though there's not an obvious teacher physically in your life, means that somewhere, somehow you have already established a connection with God, because this is a God-inspired desire. To know the truth is sacred. If you have that desire within you, that's sacred, that's given by the source of all creation itself, to understand who you are, what you are, where you're gonna go, from where you came, because you came from a place that has no birth or death. You were always here, and you will always remain, in one form or the other. Now this is the only way to live with peace in your mind. But again, this is not how generally things go in society. There's always a pressure of making a living, of showing evidence that you're on the right way, needing to make money. If you don't have the evidence physically, then you must be doing something wrong. But to learn about the truth happens spiritually. It happens within you. It happens metaphysically. It is not necessarily something you only observe through your physical senses alone. Because wisdom comes from within. This physical world is temporary. You have to understand what is the eternal nature. The eternal nature of your being. The soul that inhabits the body that you really are. If only you keep your mind open and say within your heart, God, show me the truth. Show me what it's all about. And you keep impressing that thought over and over and over again. Literally upon your subconscious mind by repetitively thinking about it and really being passionate about wanting the answer to that question. Well, then the teacher will appear in many forms. You will attract books, you will attract videos that you might watch online. You will attract people, maybe mentors, teachers, gurus that will help you along the way. But most of all, you will attract the greatest guru of all time, which is God itself, infinite intelligence. It can only respond to what you broadcast. So you could say the thought of wanting to know more about your own spiritual awakening causes the universe to react, to respond to that request through intuitive insights. That's the beautiful part. It's like indirectly, as collective humanity, we have created our own stress and suffering in society. At the heart of great teachings like the Gita, well, they also teach that awareness is what it's all about. We have to become aware that we make the struggles ourselves. But we miss it if we never question that the way we're living right now, is this really the only way that life works? If you know you're one with God, I think it's a tricky part for most humans. Because it's a totally different attitude. We obey society, and society, generally speaking, isn't going in the right way. In fact, society obsessed with physical things, with having things to show off with. But all of this is gonna be lost. That's the silly part. It's so childish and silly to be obsessed with hoarding things. But to gain wisdom about your eternal nature is a great precious and treasure. It's a precious treasure, I should say. It's the great jewel that has no price. You cannot pay for it, but you can seek for it freely without having to pay. You don't need to pay teachers either along the way. So many people get stuck there. This whole industry of self-help has been monetized heavily. Some coaches, for example, charge hundreds or thousands of dollars for just one session. And here I am, one of those people that is freely sharing with you the way to the truth, if you were listen to it, if you're ready to grasp what I'm saying. Because we sort of assume if I have to pay for something, then it must be more valuable than if it was free. But God gives the wisdom of your eternal nature for free all the time. Come and eat and drink without price, it was written. Well, in heaven, that's how it works. You don't need money for anything. And heaven is part of the eternal nature of who you are, you could say. Therefore, you don't have to worry about that either. I don't have the money. How am I gonna afford getting a teacher? Well, understand again, the greatest teacher will be God. It's always God. And that connection that you can establish with God happens within yourself. So you don't have to worry about whether you have money or not to learn about the truth. Even if other gurus out there might say you need to hire me or else you will never know. That's silly. That's egotistical. That's of the ego mind. That's of the temporary finite existence where people desperately are trying to make a living until they finally and hopefully safely reach their own grave. It's kind of silly. Now, if you are one with God, then there is essentially nothing you really have to achieve. And so, awakening itself shouldn't feel like something you have to achieve. You are already enlightened the moment you understand your true nature. That can happen instantly. God can open the doors instantly once you learn to set aside your ego. So the process is mostly about you dropping all the preconceived notions you have about who you think you are and what this universe is about, and instead melt together, abide in the mind of God itself. Because illusion and delusions come from the ego. Something you thought needed to be achieved. Well, many things that you think need to be achieved keep you in bondage to physicality, and you miss the chance to experience God in action that guides your ways, that opens your ears at night and seals the instructions on how to improve and become closer to Him and the truth of life. So go straight to the core of spiritual power. That's what it's all about. The ultimate goal of your life is unity with God, the spirit of life that made the universe. If this dawns upon you, so much stress will drop off your shoulders, because we live under the illusion that it's all about success, money, relationships, sex, lust, passion. All these elements could very well make your physical journey slightly more enjoyable if you don't overindulge in anything anyway whatsoever. But the physical world is temporary. Find the eternal side of yourself. Now, if we tie this all back to your main question, that if you don't have a teacher, well, what are you gonna do? What you're going to do is turn straight to God, because He is always the true savior of the soul.